Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where it seems Jared Leto has decided to save himself from Suicide Squad. Although many would argue he doesn't need to be saved from Suicide Squad. Even I think there's a case to be made for that because audiences so love his character. But I think on paper and probably within the industry, it's not doing him any favors. The Rotten Tomatoes score, the big second weekend drop, I think that it probably maybe hurt Jared Leto in the space that he wants to work in. Let's not forget, he's not a commercial actor. While Margot Robbie and Will Smith are probably ecstatic with the way things are going and feel, whatever, we'll ride this wave. Jared Leto is very much an artiste, and I think he's obviously, as we can see from the story we're about to discuss, none too pleased about the way things have turned out, which is pretty interesting. I mean, one of the most interesting things to me was that they're saying he's very, very shocked by the negative reaction to the movie, the negative feedback, to the visuals of his character, which I find odd because while they were initially negative, I think we almost all came around to the way the Joker looks. So I don't know why that's bothering him. Maybe somebody should fill him in on all the love that he's getting online. But anyway, he's very unhappy with the way the final film has turned out. As he made clear at a fan event for his band, 30 Seconds to Mars, over the weekend apparently. Someone was there, well, a lot of people were there because it was a fan event, but word got out about what he discussed there about the Suicide Squad movie. One being that he hasn't even seen it, which I think is very interesting. Now, of course, he attended both premieres, but for those of you who aren't aware, a lot of times actors will walk the carpet and do press for a movie, but they will not go to the actual screening. They'll just walk right on through and leave. They'll do the whole introduction, but, sometimes it's because they don't like to watch themselves. Sometimes because they've seen it so many times already. And then apparently sometimes, like with Jared Leto here, he doesn't want to see it, right? So what he's saying, his new line, a lot of the headlines said, Jared Leto says F you to Warner Brothers. But the truth of the matter is that they were in that instance, well, the context of that F you is that someone, was asking about his contract because Jared Leto had said it specifies he can't do anything that endangers his safety because, he has to show up to work, like mountain climbing, etc. And someone pointed out that he was engaging in those activities. And that's when Jared Leto said F him to Warner Brothers. But he's basically saying F him to Warner Brothers with these comments because, as I talked about on Movie Math on Monday, you're expected to toe the company line. Patty Jenkins is not only saying that Wonder Woman looks great, but that she personally thinks Suicide Squad is a fantastic movie, and she's not just saying that because she's part of DC. We talked about Paul Dini, etc. Even some of you have tried to use Kevin Smith as justification, but don't forget that Kevin Smith works extensively with Warner Brothers, and he, of course, would like to continue to do so. But Jared Leto, I think that he does not want to continue to work with Warner Brothers under these circumstances, and that's why he's making these public comments. So they're getting worse and worse as time goes on. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. But at the moment where they stand is that Jared Leto says this isn't the movie he was sold on, that was pitched to him when he signed on to play the Joker. It was supposed to be a much more artistic film, far less commercial, and obviously he had a bigger part in it. So he said he's very unhappy with the way that it's turned out, and my guess would be is that he would not return for Suicide Squad 2. I think that I'm not saying he wouldn't be the Joker again, but I don't think he likes the fact that he was overshadowed by Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, which also to me means maybe he wouldn't do a Joker Harley movie. And I think he probably really disliked working with David Ayer. And I think that's, I'm with him on that. As I've said many times now, I think that he and David Ayer are not a fit creatively. I think they came up with a cool idea, but they were unable to execute together. So if I were Warner Brothers, I think that Jared Leto's Joker is very valuable to them. And I think Jared Leto must to some degree realize that, or outrightly realize it, which is another reason I think he's willing to make these comments. Because he's like, I have a lot of leverage. People do like what I came up with. Although he's now, but then that doesn't gel with him saying he's upset about some people not liking it. It's like, what do you, Jared Leto, get your bargaining position in position. But anyway, if I were Warner Brothers, I would realize the importance of Jared Leto's Joker to my brand. And I would say, you never have to even see David Ayer again. Let me introduce you to Ben Affleck. You're going to be in his new movie. Or I would make a Joker movie. But I would say, I really want you to come back and you can help pick, if you don't want to work with Ben Affleck on his Batman movie, you can help pick your director, or at least have it. I don't know if I'd go that far because I don't know how good of a business person Jared Leto is, but I'd say you can have approval, right? And also on your writer. Somebody, we've talked about this before. I've been focusing on directors, but I saw a recent comment in the comment section of one of my videos from somebody saying Warner Brothers really needs to hire better writers. Chris Terrio, I think Chris Terrio is a very good writer, but the wrong writer for the DCEU. But I stand by that. I mean, I agree with that person's comment. I think that they really need to work on shoring up their behind the camera talent. So we'll see. We will see. But I'm curious to what you guys think of Jared Leto. What do you think of his strategy here? Do you think it's a good one, or do you think it's gonna bite him in the butt? What do you think of? How do you feel about his Joker character now with this new information? And what do you think he should do next? What would you do if you were Jared Leto? What would you do if you were Warner Brothers? All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now, talking about behind-the-scenes situations in Hollywood, they're going to remake A Star Is Born for the fourth version of this movie, the third remake. So the original film came out with Janet Garner, who never went anywhere, but Friedrich March, big name talent. Then they remade it again with Judy Garland and James Mason, and then again with Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson. I think perhaps the most famous version is the Judy Garland, James Mason one, but of course Barbra Streisand is a legend, and I think a good match with Lady Gaga, who has ended up taking over the role in this fourth edition. Now, before we get too much into the new film, let me just first introduce you to the story of A Star Is Born. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it's a very tragic film. But it's about a fading actor, a fading movie star who's battling alcoholism, and he discovers a struggling actress/singer and decides to help her with her career. And along the way, they fall in love. But of course, this alcoholism isn't going anywhere, and then there's a lot of difficult situations that arise with his fading career and her career on the rise. Now, they've been trying to remake A Star Is Born for a while now. At one point, Beyonce was supposed to potentially do it, but now they've got Lady Gaga, and she is, I think that whoever's handling Lady Gaga's transition into acting is doing a fantastic job. She got a Golden Globe for American Horror Story, so that she's got that going for her. And also she impressed everybody with her Sound of Music homage performance at the Oscars. I think not last year, but the year before, perhaps. But very, very good. And I think that, she's finding good projects that I think are, in her wheelhouse, that don't ask her to stretch too much. Now, I had a problem with one of the things that she said when she won her Golden Globe, where she said, singing's nice, but I've always actually wanted to be an actress. And I was like, what? Keep that to yourself, Lady Gaga. I think you should say you like being both, right? I mean, I wouldn't throw under the bus all the people who were your fans for singing, and of course, the part of your career that got you this new opportunity, right? But, whatever Lady Gaga wants to say, she still has a lot of little monsters who love her. But anyway, so she's going to be the female star, and Bradley Cooper is going to play the fading male star. But interestingly, and I think somewhat difficultly, he's going to be making his directorial debut. And that's scary to me. I'd be like, Lady Gaga is going to be doing her first big starring role, and Bradley Cooper will be directing his first movie. That's a lot of firsts. There should be some steady hands here to help guide this ship, right? But we'll see how it turns out. I think that with Lady Gaga is such, a good example of not only strong casting for her, but stunt casting to some degree, that the movie should do pretty well in that regard alone. And also, if it has an amazing soundtrack and great sequences when she sings her songs, people will see it just for that. Now, also, this movie has a lot of prestige. Every single time they've made it, it's been a strong awards contender. Always gets a slew of Oscar nominations. Sometimes it wins, sometimes it doesn't win. But still, that's a very strong pedigree. So I think this is definitely a very strong movie to watch, and they're fast-tracking it. It'll begin shooting, I think, early 2017, and expected to be an awards contender for the next round, which means it's going to probably go up against the Circus musical from Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron, and Michelle Williams and Zendaya. So I think that's really interesting because that means there can be a lot of musicals next year. All right, so that's the second story of the day. I think it's a great idea. I don't know how well it's going to turn out, but it should be interesting no matter what. All right, so the third story of the day is that TV continues to be career rehab for actors, and also a place where writers continue to be king, which is maybe one of the reasons it is career rehab for actors, because it provides such wonderful parts for them. But we have some interesting new actors going to the small screen, or in this case, for both of them, back to the small screen. Now, the first, as you can see, is Robert Downey Jr., who was on Ally McBeal. back when he needed rehab. Career rehab. Tragically, he has needed rehab also, actual rehab a couple of times. But anyway, he was on Ally McBeal back when his career was struggling pre-Marvel days. But now his career is still struggling outside of Marvel. I mean, remember that movie, The Judge, that nobody went to see? I went to see it. It wasn't good. It's not like it was a hidden gem that everybody missed. I mean, he's done okay with Sherlock Holmes, but, I think Robert Downey Jr. probably realizes he can't be Iron Man forever as much as he would like to be. And he needs to have he needs to have a career that continues nonetheless. And I think that as far as being an actor goes, he doesn't really have a strong reputation right now, which I think is ridiculous because I think his acting in the Marvel movies is spectacular and he does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the emotions. Chris Evans is good, but he's no Robert Downey Jr. I mean, the whole reason that end scene in Civil War means so much is because just the look on Robert Downey Jr.'s face when he has that realization, when he realizes what's happened, what's transpired. It's amazing. So anyway, Robert Downey Jr. is heading to HBO. Good idea. And he's going to be doing Perry Mason. That, of course, is a very famous TV series. It's been around for a long time. And he's wanted to do a movie based on it, but that didn't work out so well. And also After the Judge, who on their right mind would fund that movie? But on a TV series for HBO with Nick Pizzolatto writing, the True Detective guy, who's a very good match with Robert Downey Jr., by the way, and did wonders for Matthew McConaughey's career. Well, Matthew McConaughey just totally flushed that down the toilet to a large degree with his Lincoln car commercials. But anyway, that's not Nick Pizzolatto's fault. And Nick Pizzolatto also hurt his own career with True Detective Season 2. So it was rehab for everybody. But I think that's a good match, and if I were HBO, I'd be like, do I want a Nick Pizzolatto, Robert Downey Jr., Perry Mason show? Yeah, I do. So that's the one TV story. Now, the other one, I've grouped them together, is that John Krasinski, of course, made famous by The Office, is heading back to TV, but this time digital television with Amazon and a new Jack Ryan series. I think this is a great idea. I think John Krasinski was very good in 13 Hours, if you haven't gotten a chance to see it. The movie's okay. It doesn't really reveal anything new or interesting about the Benghazi situation, except that, as everybody knows, it was just a complete disaster. But its unwillingness to be political, I think, takes a lot of the teeth out of the movie. But anyway, Michael Bay directed that movie, and he's producing this Amazon series. But don't worry. Although I have to say, I think the last ship from Michael Bay, it's been on a couple seasons, so people like it. I've not actually seen it. But Carlton Cuse will be the showrunner on this, and he did San Andreas, and he just did a fantastic job with that movie writing it. I think Carlton Cuse is very talented. So, and I think he's been associated with a number of other successful ventures. I believe he also worked on Lost. So he's done a couple of things. Some of the things haven't worked out, but I'd bet on Carlton Cuse. Now, I think John Krasinski as Jack Ryan is a fabulous idea. I don't watch any Amazon TV, but I would watch this. I think a lot of people would. And Jack Ryan, of course, is the character made famous. Harrison Ford, of course, played him. Ben Affleck played him. And then Chris Pine played him, but only once because it was a disaster. But anyway, I think John Krasinski is a very good choice for this. I think he'd excel on this platform being Amazon. So I think for all around, these are fabulous ideas, and I hope that they benefit both of these actors because I think both actors are talented. All right, so I'm curious, do you think you'll watch either of these shows? And what do you think of the fact that so many actors are willing to do television these days? So interesting, but TV is just so darn good. All right, so anyway, instead of the viewer question today, I want to clarify the Nate Parker developing story because new information came to light yesterday evening, and I think there's some confusion as to what's going on, and I want to outline because I think people are only getting pieces of the story here and there because, again, it's developing. But I think it's important to understand everything that's on the table so far because you're really watching the implosion of probably the front runner, or if not the guaranteed or previous guaranteed Oscar winner for the year. And also Nate Parker was supposed to be a hot new star in Hollywood, and that's just not going to happen anymore. All right, so let me explain why. Because a number of people are saying, oh, this is a hit job on Nate Parker. People just don't want to see this black talent succeed. And I would say to those of you looking for someone to represent, black talent, you don't want Nate Parker representing you. Trust me. And I think after you hear this story, you will understand why. All right, so The Birth of a Nation, of course, is the story of the slave revolt, very violent slave revolt that took place. It was a big hit at Sundance, a sensation on the festival circuit, and Fox Searchlight bought the rights to distribute it and run it for awards campaign for $17.5 million. Not outbidding Netflix, but winning because they're such a strong awards powerhouse when it comes to getting Oscar nominations and wins. And part of the deal was they were going to take Nate Parker on a tour to colleges and churches to talk about the movie and the importance of civil rights, freedom, civil rights, etc. But that's certainly not going to happen anymore. But it was a very big deal movie. And I think also the choice of who Nate Parker decided to chronicle now looks an awful lot, it looks very different with this new information come to light. Because, you're like, that's a really, harsh, violent story. And to champion that man who started the slave revolt is, it's a questionable idea. And when it's revealed that Nate Parker himself seems guilty of very strong violence, it just makes the whole thing become even more distasteful. So what happened? Well, back when he was in college, Nate Parker was accused of gang raping a woman that he'd had a sexual relationship with before. But apparently the accusation was that she passed out. Something happened, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And Nate Parker, while the rumor is that while he had sex with her, he invited others to potentially to join. That's to allegedly join in. His roommate and co-screenwriter on The Birth of a Nation did join in, and it's a very bad situation. All right, so this woman accused him and his roommate of gang raping her while she was unconscious. That was the charge. Now, it went to trial. And this was the first information that came to light. It went to trial. Nate Parker was acquitted because he had a previous relationship with the woman. So, they felt that how could we qualify it as non-consensual? But his roommate was found guilty of rape and was sentenced to several years in jail. He said he wanted to. He appealed it, so it would have to go to another trial because of his appeal. And the woman refused to go to trial again, so the situation was dropped, and he didn't have to go to jail for that reason. He was not found not guilty. He was found guilty, but she didn't want to go to trial again. Why didn't she want to go to trial again? Well, that's part of the new information that's coming to light. Apparently, she was harassed during the trial and leading up to its beginning, right after she reported the rape, by Nate Parker, his roommate, and their friends. She was called, she was harassed on campus. It got very, very bad, to the point that she did not only not want to go back to, for the appeal for the roommate, but actually it was revealed yesterday evening through an exclusive with Variety, and then I think the story also went to the New York Times. The family of this person also went to the New York Times, this woman, but it was revealed that in 2010 she killed herself due to this. She committed suicide. And it also turns out that she was a mother at the time when she killed herself. And so the family is remaining anonymous to protect the son, her son. It's not Nate Parker's kid, but still, this is a very bad situation. That not only is he accused of this, but that person killed herself over the situation. Now, Nate Parker took to Facebook last night to make a comment about this. And apparently he didn't check with anyone because I think he's just digging a deeper hole for himself. Because he said that he was very devastated or sad to learn that this woman had killed herself, and that in hindsight, looking back, he feels that he was not as empathetic as he should have been. That is a really bad thing to say, because it kind of says that the harassment situation was true. Because he said, in an effort to protect my name, if you can, I'll put a link down below to his statement, and if it's still, I'll put articles have it if he's taken it down. But he said, in an effort to clear my name and not, to be found guilty, maybe I was a little bit too strong, and that's really a bad situation. That's very, very bad. So this movie's done. The Birth of a Nation. I think people probably won't even see it, to be perfectly honest with you, and I think at this point, I don't think that Fox Searchlight would be worth their time or money to even run a campaign for it, because no one's going to vote for this movie. So that $17.5 million down the drain, because I don't know if there's anything in the contract that they can use to get their money back, right? One of you actually made a comment saying that maybe background checks, something like that, or they should have looked into his background, and I agree with that. I think that in going forward, I think that studios, when purchasing people's films at film festivals from unknown talent, and Nate Parker wasn't that unknown. I've been thinking a lot about the investors. That he talked into investing into The Birth of a Nation. They probably are very upset and shocked as well. But I think that they're probably going to demand background checks from now on to make sure that there's no criminal activity in your past that are stories that are going to come to light. And there probably will be clauses in contracts saying, if there's something in your past or you have damaging behavior, you're going to have to return that money. So, wow, what a disaster. And also to see someone who was pretty much guaranteed to win an Oscar, probably never work again. That's just an amazing situation. That's just shocking. And he has a couple of films that he signed on to. Expect those deals to completely fall apart. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Some of you might still be defending Nate Parker. I know there's a very strong feeling of innocent until proven guilty. But I think that not only does he seem very guilty from the statements that he's making, but I think the continued lack of empathy is very bad. I think whoever they hired to walk him through this situation did not do a good job. So anyway, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. Do you still have any interest in seeing The Birth of a Nation? And is it a movie that you would vote for if you were an Academy member to be nominated or to win? And it looked very good. As people pointed out, Roman Polanski, he's Woody Allen, he's been okay, but Mel Gibson has not. Really bad, really, really bad situation, really bad. It's tricky, but I think that there's an ugliness to this. I'm not quite sure, but I agree on some of the comments about Roman Polanski and Woody Allen. I think Hollywood can't continue to have a double standard, but I don't think that the way they should go is letting all of it be okay. All of it should not be okay, and that I think it really kind of calls into question a little bit maybe about Hacksaw Ridge and maybe what's going to happen with Mel Gibson. So we'll see. The Oscar season now though is wide open. All right, write your thoughts down below. Let me know anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow and any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.